If you're a coach, leader, or high performer who wants to grow personally while elevating your team, this is for you.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion, my words got power, my thoughts have action, motivation, stay gracious, that's greatness, be audacious, motivation, be audacious, innovation, be audacious, inspiration, be bold, motivation, be audacious.
The way that I've been able to elevate in my career and as a person has been getting better individually, because a lot of the jobs that I got, I didn't go out and look for it. Like, I attracted those opportunities. And how do you attract? You have to become. It's great for you to get better. And even if you're in business, it's great to get better in your field, but it's also, it's amazing to get better as a person, because as you get better as a person, everything else around you will get better. So the book is all about personal development. It's 7 leadership skills to elevate your team and your life. And these are the 7 core fundamentals that I would give somebody. If I had a chance to sit down in a coaching session with a coach that wanted to elevate their career, or an athlete that wanted to get more out of the sport, these are the 7 concepts that we would review throughout that session.
What if the real reason you're not reaching the next level isn't strategy, talent, or opportunity, but the mindset you bring to the challenges that you have in front of you? Here on the Audacious Living Podcast, our goal is simple. We help you live your most audacious life by turning adversity into growth and intention into action, right where you are. Today's guest is Devrinn Paul, a college basketball head coach, leadership developer, and author of Coaching the Winner Within. His journey from getting cut in 7th grade to leading a collegiate program shows what happens when mindset meets discipline and systems meet purpose. We're talking about personal development, leadership under pressure, and adapting to challenges, and how to build systems that keep you focused long after the motivation fades. This is a great conversation that you certainly will enjoy, so let's tune in and check out what Coach Devrinn Paul has to share. Hey, Devrinn, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living Podcast. I appreciate you, my man, for taking the time to be here.
I'm happy to be on. Super excited about the podcast, and it's a great day to be on. So let's get started.
I love it. Like, much of our talk here is really just encouraging individuals to live their best audacious life. And I think a big part of that, an analogy we use all the time here, is recognizing that life is a journey, and we're all on our own individual path. And the things on my path may be very different than yours, and but they're ours to own. And it could be obstacles, it could be challenges. They could be setbacks, and the key is treating it like there's a boulder there, and you got to find a way to go up, over, around, and through to live the life that your best audacious life, if you will. And on the other side of those challenges, that's where the greatness lies. And so there's much encouragement in persevering and pushing ahead and not quitting. Right? I mean, these are things that we grew up listening to as children, and it follows through our adult world. But at the end of the day, there is significance in them. It's not just these things that we're told. That there is some significance and continue to push ahead. And you have a very perspective of that as a college basketball coach, and we all know the tremendous lessons sports can teach, even just about resiliency and not quitting. Right? I mean, there's so much we can get from that. And so maybe as a starting point, Devrinn, I can get you to introduce yourself to the audience, talk about what you do, and what's got you to the point that you're at now.
Yes. It's funny that you started with challenges, because I was literally talking to my team about that yesterday. We had our first team meeting, and we was talking about how change usually comes after challenge. But, if you could get to the point to where you could change without having to go through a crisis, you actually are hitting the learning curve even earlier. And that's what champions do. But no, my name is Devrinn Paul. I'm the head coach at Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology women's basketball program. But I didn't start out as a head coach. I started out as a student manager. I actually started out playing basketball in the 6th grade. I played basketball and football growing up. So sports was a huge part of my upbringing. My parents put me in sports to keep me out of the streets, to keep me focused. Mm-hmm. And I'm very appreciative because, like you said, I learned so much from just playing the game of sports. And I wasn't the best. I was a much more talented football player than I was basketball player.
Hmm.
But I was always in the basketball gym. So
Right.
my uncle was a college basketball coach. So he kind of took me underneath his wing. And in the seventh grade, I went out to try out for the middle school team and I got cut. And that right there, it shifted my mindset. I talk a lot in my new book, Coaching the Winner Within, which is right here. I talk a lot in that book. In the first chapter is all about building the athlete's mindset.
Mm.
And I learned that in the seventh grade because after I got cut, I went home and I told my mother. Now, my mother is a New Yorker, born and raised. Like that's what she bleeds. So she's a little tough. And I went home and I said, "Mommy, I got cut from the basketball team." And she said, "Oh,
Mhm.
okay." I'm thinking, she gonna cuddle me. She gonna tell me it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And she goes, "So what you gonna do?" And I was like, "What?" She was like, "Yeah, if you're gonna try out next year, you gotta do something different because you don't want to go in there and you're gonna get the same outcome if you don't do nothing different."
Right, right.
And I said, I don't know, but she didn't leave me there. She told me to call my uncle. She was like, call your uncle. I know he does something with basketball. My dad used to train me in football, but he didn't know much about basketball. So I called my uncle, and my uncle started picking me up. He started training me, teaching me the fundamentals,
Right, right.
the basics, the things that I needed to know instead of just going out there playing street ball.
Mm,
So never got cut again after that time. That
beautiful.
shifted my mindset, shifted my perspective. And I just kept going. So I went and became a student manager at Kentucky State University, HBCU. And my uncle was the head coach there. So I learned underneath him and I started out on the men's side. And then I switched to women's basketball and went to go be a graduate assistant coach at the University of Louisville
Okay.
in Louisville, Kentucky. I say Louisville because that's where I'm from. So when you're from there, you say Louisville. If you're not from there, you say Louisville.
Louisville.
Uh, so,
I
so
appreciate the insights. Thank you.
oh yeah, definitely, definitely. Because a lot of people are like, "Where's that at?" And it's like, you would say Louisville, but I'm from there, so it's my city. I call it Louisville.
Louisville.
Um,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
so I was a graduate assistant coach there. Switched over to the women's side, and went to a national championship while I was there. Lost in the championship to UConn. And then I got hired as a video coordinator. So that was my first paid position in college coaching basketball.
Yep.
And then I also went to another national championship while I was there. So I was there for a total of 5 years. And then I became an assistant coach at Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia. So started doing more on the recruiting side at that time, and just kept climbing the ladder. And at that point, I had met my wife now, and she was my girlfriend then. And
Hmm.
we started talking about getting serious. And she lived in New York, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna step away from college coaching and move to New York. So
Okay.
moved to New York. We started a basketball training business. She's a phenomenal athlete. I always tell people she the player, I'm the coach. if you want the best player, you're gonna go get my wife.
Okay.
2,000 point scorer in high school, Hall of Fame
Beautiful.
basketball player in college, just a phenomenal athlete. So we started a basketball training business together. We did that for 6 years and kind of built it from the ground up. Also became a certified educator while I was
Okay.
there. So I
Yeah.
taught special education for 6 years and got the itch to get back into college coaching. My wife is actually the one that was like, "Hey, let's coach together." And I was like, "Well, if we're going to coach together, we got to get back in. It's not easy."
Right.
So
Right.
started reaching out to my connections and my mentors. And one of my mentors said that she needed some help and wanted me to come on her staff at University of Cincinnati. So we moved to Cincinnati
Wow.
and did that for a year. After one season there, the whole staff got let go. So I experienced that as well. I know a lot of coaches, they don't like to talk about that side of it, but I
Mm,
love to be transparent because just like you said earlier, man, and I think it's no coincidence that you opened up with challenges, and I think that my best wins have came from challenges.
mm.
And so after getting let go, it kind of made me really reassess things and see what I wanted for not just coaching, but for my family, for my
Yep.
life.
Hmm.
We had our first child at that point. So baby girl was 2 years old. And I was like, it's more about my family. It's more about them. So I got an opportunity to come to Rose-Hulman, which is a Division III school. I had no experience at this level. But I knew that one of my friends told me, you get a good work-life balance. And that kind of spoke my language
Right.
because I wanted to be
Sure.
with my family more.
Hmm. Yep.
And and took advantage of the opportunity. And now my wife is my assistant coach, and what we said we wanted to happen has now happened. So super excited going into my third season here. And we've
Beautiful.
been able to really build this program from basically nothing. You know, when we got here, they didn't have a season prior. They had canceled the season. They only had 8 players on the roster. So it was kind of a depleted season at that point. A lot of success previously, but for some reason that year just didn't work out. So we had to come in and kind of like revamp the entire program.
Right.
So
From
now
scratch.
we have a good foundation, and
Beautiful.
I believe that we're going to have a great season this year.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, first off, your life story in itself is audacious, Devrinn. Like, I mean, with the moves and the pivots and the changes, and let's get up and go here. Let's go get up and go there. But what rings true, and I hear loud and clear, there's still that very clear dedication. Like it's like you got a North Star. Like the purpose is very clear, right? And so, I love that. I love that sort of focus. And then just in general, sports does so much from just developmental standpoint, you as an individual, your character, obviously things like teamwork, those are all easy stuff, right? But in terms of what it does for you individually, is really cool. You talked about your book. What inspired you to write the book, Coaching the Winner Within? Where'd that come from?
Great question. So once I started coaching and I kept moving up and I kept elevating, as I started to elevate, I started to help other coaches. And when I started the basketball training business, I actually did a lot of consulting with a lot of other coaching staffs. And they would always ask the same questions, like, you know, how did you move up in your career? I want to take that next step. And I noticed that a lot of people wanted to hear about basketball. You know, they wanted me to tell them,
Right.
hey, you know, you run this offense, or, you know, you get this mentor, or which are all things that you should know. But to be honest, at the college level, we already work on basketball. Like if you don't know what zone offense to run at this point,
Right.
it's probably
Right.
not a profession for you.
Right. Right.
But I mean, obviously, we could always get better in that
Of
aspect. But
course. Of
I
course.
seen what
The
we were
fundamentals,
over
the basics you're talking about, though, right? Like, I mean, like
exactly.
if you're being zone, that's right. Like, what do we do? Like, if that's not innate to you and natural, then there's a bigger problem.
Exactly, exactly. So I wanted to go more about the fundamentals of personal development,
Yeah.
because I felt like that was something that was overlooked. Because I believe that the way that I've been able to elevate in my career and as a person has been getting better individually. Because a lot of the jobs that I got, I didn't go out and look for it. Like I attracted those opportunities. And how do you attract? You have to become. So I
Mm,
think that that was the major thing that I wanted to get across throughout the book. And that's why I wrote the book, is for coaches and athletes to understand that it's great for you to get better. And even if you're in business, it's great to get better in your field, but it's amazing to get better as a person, because as you get better as a person, everything else around you will get better. So the book is all about personal development. It's 7 leadership skills to elevate your team and your life. And these are the 7 core fundamentals that I would give somebody. If I had a chance to sit
okay.
down in a coaching session with a coach that wanted to elevate their career, or an athlete that wanted to get more out of the sport, these are the 7 concepts that we would review throughout that session. So
Okay.
it's really a conceptual read. So you can pick it up. You can start with the 5th chapter, the 3rd. It's
Love it.
every chapter
I love it.
has a teaching point in it. It's also led by a Bible scripture. So I give you
Okay.
a Bible scripture at the beginning that you can meditate on.
Hmm.
Faith is a huge part of who I am.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and my Savior. So obviously throughout the book, I speak about that, but in a practical way. I think sometimes we look at the Bible as a storybook, and I look at it more like a manual of wisdom. So I want to give that wisdom throughout the book, and that's really what the book is about, and that's who the book is for. But you know, I've gotten reviews from people that are, you know, parents, and they
Right.
they they said they use it to help lead in their household, and business owners, CEOs, like so even though, you know, you write it for a certain group, you
Yep.
find out that there's so many other
Oh,
people that
sure.
can take things from it.
Sure. 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 You said there's 7. Let's run through those 7 keys real quickly, if you don't mind. I'm curious.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start out with obviously the athlete's mindset. If you don't know where to start at, like I always start with, in order to change your mindset, to get out of what we call a fixed mindset and into the athlete's mindset, is to change your perspective, change what you're focusing on. focus on the controllables, your time, your effort, your energy. Those are things that you can control. So changing your perspective and what you focus on will help to change your mindset. And then we talk a lot about like having personal organization systems. So that's kind of three of them together. But when you have a personal organization system, you are no longer freestyling through life. Because a lot of times I meet coaches and they'll have like, when you're at work, you have a calendar system at work. But personally, some coaches, they don't have a calendar system. They're not going by a calendar system. And if you have personal values, which is another chapter in the book, if you have personal values, you use those personal values to drive your calendar. So, for example, if you tell me, hey, my family is very important, but I look at your calendar, I don't see family time schedule. I don't see family. I don't see date night. I don't see, what I'm saying? I'm not,
Right.
This is something's going wrong in between what you say and what you're doing. So really utilizing your time better is something that we talk about a lot in the book. Also having a budget or a financial system that you're using. I'm very big on finances because I went through a tough time with finances. Me and my wife, we just finished paying off over $240,000 worth of debt. And as a coach, sometimes you can just get so caught up with the next opportunity and what do you want to do and where do you want to go that you're not grounded where you are. So really maximizing where you are, meaning handle what you do have. You can't want to make $1 million if you can't manage $10,000 or $1,000. So I'm really big on that. So we teach that in the personal organization systems, and then relationships. Relationships is huge, and not just. I hear a lot of people talk about networking. I think networking is very important, but I also think having a strategy on the back end is also important. Putting those phone calls in your calendar. Right? How did the phone call go? Who did you connect with? Okay, send a follow up. I love to send handwritten letters. Take some time and handwrite somebody. It's just it's an old school way, but man, you get that personal touch in there, and people start to remember you, and things start to happen.
Yes.
So those are a few of the concepts in the book. But I truly believe that if you could take 3 to 4 of them, because 7 is a lot, and I talk a lot about like start with the small wins. Get a small win. I think sometimes when we want to get better and we want to expand or we want to elevate, we get this huge idea, the big concept, which is great. But you have to break that down into tangible steps.
That's right.
And start knocking out the tangible steps to get you to the top of the mountain. So instead of looking at the whole staircase, just take one step.
I think it's a great strategy, and it really is. You make things bite-sized, if you will, and again, tangible is a fantastic approach. The part I gotta tell you, the part about I like about the title is the winner within, and the underlying or even the subconscious theme within that is just saying everyone is a winner. It's there, right? And it's just a matter of tapping into that or creating an awareness around that. Was that deliberately done that way from your perspective?
Yes. Well, when I was first introduced to personal development, I was a video coordinator at the University of Louisville. And my head coach, he's going to be a Hall of Fame coach. He was a really good coach. He's still there till today. And I was sitting in a meeting and, I was a younger coach in my career at that time. And I was looking around, and to be honest, I felt like I didn't belong. I'm sitting there with these coaches that got 20 years experience, 25 years, great recruiters. Like, I know what they bring to the table, but I'm looking at myself like, okay, how do you fit with this?
Right.
So I was kind of trying to find my way, and I'm sitting in this meeting and he said something that caught my attention. He used to go on these rants and these meetings sometimes. So he was sitting there and he was like, when I was an assistant coach, I was the first one in and the last one to leave. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, first one in, last one to leave. I could do that. I was like, that doesn't take any talent. Like, I don't need to know anything about basketball to do that.
Right.
So I started doing that. And while I was doing that, another exec on our team, she said, have you been reading? And I was like, why would I be reading? Like, I got 2 degrees. Like, I did all my reading. I'm not trying to be reading.
Right.
She was like, no. Reading is going to excel your growth. And I was like, And she was like, yeah, you should start reading. And she recommended my first self-help book, which was Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen
Mm,
Covey. And that
right.
was the first personal development book that I read. And throughout that book, I realized I was like, ooh, all this stuff takes no talent. Like it doesn't take me, none of this stuff is outside of who I am. This is just about me sharpening my inner skills. And I was
Yeah.
like, ooh, this is the secret sauce. So once I started and I got a taste of that and I just kept going. And that's when I realized that all of the skills, the gifts, and the talents are inside of us.
Yes.
We always go looking at, and it's good to get help, it's good to get mentorship, it's
Sure.
good to get all of these things, but most of the time it comes back to what are you going to do? Like so that's what the winner within really means. We all have these winning qualities inside of us,
Totally.
but it's up to us to tap in.
I mean, if you think about it, Michael Jordan always had a coach. He's the greatest basketball player ever, right? And he had a coach, right? And so, but at the same time, he still did more outside of that coach to get better on his own time, the early practices and the late nights and all that kind of stuff. First one in, last one out kind of mentality. So for sure, sports in general, as you know, basketball specifically, provides sort of all sorts of opportunities for lessons and especially in leadership, I would say. Wondering maybe if you can give if there's something that stands out from a a leadership lesson from a coaching perspective that sort of has everyday application that's practical.
Yes. Well, there's a chapter in the book that I had added. Originally, I had just the seven concepts. But after I put down the seven skills, the book company that I work with, which did a phenomenal job, they came back and they were like, "Hey, we want to add an eighth chapter." And I was like, "About what?" And they was like, "Lessons you think you wish you would have learned earlier in your career." And I was kind of like, I don't want to talk about that. Like, I don't really want to get into that. And they was like, no, we think it'd be great for the reader. You said you wrote the book to help other people. So this is going to help people.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So when I went back and I thought about it, one of the biggest lessons that I learned throughout my career was to shut up and listen. So
Mm,
listen, and I know it sounds very simple, but you asked for something practical. And I remember when I was an assistant coach at Marshall University, I came from University of Louisville. We had went to two national championships. I get to this new coaching staff. I'm thinking, I know what I'm doing. Like I've been on the winning team. Like I know what it takes,
yep.
and really, really got caught up in my ego. And at that point, I started to you disconnect from the diversity of working on a team. A team is all about collaboration. It's
Yep.
about working together. It's about getting a desired outcome as a family, as a unit. And I had to learn that, and a huge part of that is listening to understand, not listening to respond. A lot of times when we listen as leaders, we can already have what we think we need to do. So I'm just asking you just so you could just feel like you're a part of it.
Right. Right.
I'm
Right.
not really
Right.
listening to nothing that you
I
got to
got no
say.
time for you, man. I'm good. I got the answer.
So so I learned, diversity is not only something that is good, but it's needed. It's necessary because you get all these different perspectives, and you can change the mindset through these different perspectives. So that was something that I had learned and I adopted, and I believe that throughout my coaching career, that has really helped me because I haven't had to try to get buy-in. It's something that has naturally occurred because I am listening to other people. Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to do every idea that
Sure.
other people
Sure.
have, but I am listening to see if you can add value, if you can help us get better, if you can help me get better, then I'm going to take the stuff and I'm going to use it and I'm going to give you credit for it.
Yep.
And we're going to keep moving. But that's a valuable tool that I've learned, and just the skill set of listening. I think that there is a tactical way of listening. It's
Yes.
not just you just sit there and be quiet. Asking questions.
Yep.
That's a probing concept that can
Yeah. Yeah.
help you to
Yep.
get out the information that you really need to help
Yep.
you get to the next level. So I do believe in listening to understand.
So I'm a big fan of you just call active listening, right? And that's what you're doing, listening to understand. But I think one of the very subtle things that it does, but very powerful, it acknowledges what the person has shared. right? It shows that you are hearing, I'm paying attention, I'm present, I'm here with you. And that goes a far, far way in building connections, strengthening the relationship, and making that person feel like what they have to offer is valued.
Yes, yes,
So,
yes.
yeah,
And I
yeah, for
think,
sure.
and then that person feels like they want to work together. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
they
it's just
feel a
strengthen
part of
things.
it.
Yeah, 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 for sure, for sure. Curious from your perspective, if you'd identify maybe, I know again I talked off the top about challenges, right? I'm curious from your perspective, and sort of common obstacles, people face when they're trying to reach their own potential, and what kinds of things can they do to overcome them?
Yes. A common thing that I see that may hold people back is the insecurity of looking at themselves. Because obviously, when we talk about personal development, the first portion of that is self evaluation.
Right.
And sometimes when we start to look at ourselves, it can be overwhelming, and I really truly do think that's because we emotionally attached to who we are, who
Hmm.
we've become throughout the years, whether it's good or bad. I've been doing this for 20 years. Now you're gonna tell me,
Right.
something's going on. So and I think that's why the first chapter is all about changing your mindset and identifying that it's not personal, removing the personal feelings to it. Thinking about, instead of being like, oh, I'm a bad communicator, oh my goodness, so I've been a bad communicator for 20 years, like, what, so is that what's going on? No, no,
Right.
no, 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 but there's some areas where you could grow in your communication to help you become a better communicator. So
Mm.
changing the way we look at it can help remove those personal feelings and that doubt and that fear and that anxiety that comes
Right.
with self-evaluation. Also in the book, I talk about using a tool or a resource to kind of
Hmm.
remove the personal attachment. So
Right.
I use an assessment with all of my teams, my personal clients, anybody that I work with, they take this assessment from the jump. The assessment now, instead of you looking at yourself, you look in the jungle and you have these four animals. And you go through the four animals, which is a lion, a flamingo, a turtle, and a chameleon.
Okay.
So now you can kind of remove the concept of, oh, this is all about me, to no, it's about the fluffy animals. So in this situation, you need to bring out your lion. In this situation, you need to be more of the
Right.
turtle. So that's a tool and resource that I use for myself because
Yes.
I went through that, being self-critical and saying things like, oh man, well, if I'm not good at this, like I haven't been good at this for 10 years, that's crazy. And once I took the assessment, it helped me to understand, oh, this is why I've been making these mistakes.
Got you.
And this
Right.
is a strength that I'm not even utilizing. So I need to get back to this because I could be making a ton of money over here and I'm not even utilizing this strength that I have. So it just really gives you a chance to see things that on paper. And I'm real big on stats.
Sure.
When it comes
Yeah.
to
Yep.
coaching, you can go with your feelings and your gut sometimes, but I'm gonna go with the stats. I'm gonna go with the numbers because numbers don't lie. So when you look at the assessment results, it's kind of like you get the stats for
Right.
yourself and you
Right.
get to see, and now you can remove that personal agenda that you have.
I love the concept of having a toolbox and recognizing that different situations calls for different tools at different moments, right? And you being able to process it on your own, so it's not like an automatic thing. It's like, no, no, no. This situation. Let me do this here. Let me grab this one. It's almost like you got your hand. You're not going to use a hammer in every situation. Sometimes you need a saw. Sometimes you need a wrench. Like a hammer is not going to solve all your problems. And I like that idea of having the different animals represent approaches that you can take. I'd love to hear if you had an example, sort of a transformational moment from your coaching career.
Definitely had a transforming moment recently. Well, I would say when I first become a head coach,
Okay.
because as an assistant coach, you're looking for things that you want to do. You're looking for ways to get better. But you have you have a plan. So if I get this head coaching job, here's what I want to do. Here's my plan that I have. And I went in with this plan with this team, and I thought that I knew what they needed and what we needed to do. And the first day of practice, I threw that plan out the window. And I was like, we got to start from scratch because and what I learned in that moment that really changed my career was you have to meet the team where they are. You have to be what they need in that moment. And it's kind of like what you just said. So I go into the practice and I'm thinking like, okay, I want to play fast. I want to get up and down. I want to press. but then as I look out there, we didn't have the personnel to do that.
Got you.
So now at this point, I could either keep driving this. I could be the lion, demanding, driving, forceful, or I could peel back and I could be in my chameleon, take my time, work through the concepts, see what they need, meet them where they are. Maybe we don't press, maybe we pick up half court. How can we still have that intensity, but not in the way that I wanted it to be? And that really transformed my thinking as a coach, because I really believe what we think is what we become. And I think that you should always be able to adapt and adjust to be effective. So my biggest thing is I just want to be effective. Like, I just want to win. So, I mean, whatever it takes for our team, I'm going to try to put us in the best situation. And that transformation really, really helped my team. The players came up to me. You know, we had players that hadn't played in 3 years. Like I said, when I got the job, you know, we didn't have a full roster. So I had to literally sit in the student center, watch kids play basketball. They just went to school and just say, hey, do you want to play on the team? Like, I was recruiting out of the rec center. And I got 4 kids out of the rec center. They had played their freshman year, didn't want to play basketball anymore. And then they came back for me in the senior year. So those kids, they come back all the time and they're like, Coach, man, you really brought back the excitement for me with basketball.
Wow.
I really had a good time. You know, one of the parents came up to me, and, you know, parents usually, they want to complain. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, they is usually about the kids not
more playing time.
Or, you know how it is. So I'm thinking, you know, I got my thick skin on. I'm ready for it. And the dad was like, man, I'm so thankful that you was working with my daughter, because I seen a side of her that I knew she had inside of her, but she never would bring it out. And while you was coaching her, I seen that come out of her. So I'm just so thankful. And I seen that team be transformed. I seen those kids be transformed. And, you know, all of those seniors are now in the workforce. We have 100% placement rate. All of our kids go on to get jobs that pay really well. They're all becoming engineers. So being able to see that and that transformation is incredible. Also being able to see, you know, my first assistant coach that I had on my coaching staff, she went off and got a head coaching job, and now she's a D1 assistant. So also being able to help her to reach her dreams, because when she first came to work for me, she said that she wanted to become a Division I assistant coach. Beautiful. Who would have known in 2 years that she would have that opportunity? Beautiful. But I truly believe when you serve God, and, you know, I got this little motto that I go by, and it's trust the grind. And the grind is all about you putting everything you have into whatever you're doing. And our players know that. My family knows that. Like, that's our family motto, trust the grind. So whenever something's not going your way, you got to recenter yourself, do your breathing exercises, do some meditation, get back to it, and get to work.
I like that. A couple of things you mentioned that really resonate with me. The idea of, you know, uplifting others. You talked about your assistant coach, and now, you know, you brought her up to the D1 level, helped her get there. Rather, she did the work, and you just supported that. The other part that also stands out for me is again the idea of meeting the team where they're at, and we've seen this. You know, I'm this kind of coach, and this is how we play, right? But you don't have the players or the horses to do what you want. So if you guys that can't shoot 3-pointers, then you don't have to shoot 3-pointers. Or you go get some, right? So it's really about being adaptable to change your, not change your philosophy, right? So the philosophy can be where it is, but the style of play can be adjusted to meet with who you got. And that's a piece that I just think adaptability, because if you take that in the context of life, things are going to happen. I talked about that path and being those challenges, right? We start off to talk about challenges. Those challenges will make you, or will force you to have to change, to come off that, like, you got this laser focus that you were where you're going to go. And all of a sudden this important puzzle piece gets removed and you can't do that no more. What do? Adapt and change. And that's what I'm hearing from that. And I love that big time. So thanks for sharing that. would love to know then from your perspective, how listeners can, maintain that motivation, particularly during those difficult, challenging times. How do you keep going?
I think it's really all about your systems. I think when you first hear about something that resonates with you, especially when it comes to personal development and just being better in your life, you can get motivated, but the motivation wears off. So I always tell people I want you to get focused, because and there used to be this guy, I forget his name, but he was on, I follow Dave Ramsey, the financial peace guy, and it was a black guy that used to be on his show, and he used to always say, "Focus, not finished," and that's something that really stuck with me. But I do believe the way that you show that you're focused is by having these systems in your life, which is like a big thing for me is my morning routine. I actually call it my mastery thinking routine. So I wake up every morning, at least an hour before I have anything to do with my family, my job, my career, whatever it is. Like I have to get this time for myself, right? And I dedicate into specific areas. Prayer and meditation time is a non-negotiable for me. Reading something that uplifts me, non-negotiable for me. Journaling during my time, non-negotiable for me. Now, when I say journaling, I think some people get overwhelmed. I don't know what to write. I'm not used to writing. Just write how you feel. And then that writing will turn into something. This book right here, Coaching the Winner Within, came through my journaling time. This was something that I started writing, and then and then the Lord said, "Hey, man, share that with everybody else. What are you doing?
Yeah,
What are you doing here?" So you never know what could come during that time. Also, exercise. Getting your body moving. Making sure that you're running, walking, push-ups, sit-ups is something. It doesn't have to be a full exercise routine early in the morning, but I love to get my body going. And then I love to review my calendar. At least look at what I have coming up that day. Who do I need to be? What animal do I need to tap into? And this is where the self-awareness comes in. Because I can look and see, I got a meeting with this person. I'm gonna need to come in with some facts. I'm gonna need to come in with some data. Okay, let me go get some data today. So those are the type of things that will keep you focused. And I call it commanding your morning with your morning routine. You can wake up and live on purpose, in purpose, but you have to have a routine. So these routines, and then I have a night routine, which is very, very simple. What did I learn today? What challenges did I go through? What wins did I have? I don't even have to write them down. I can just think about them.
Yep.
I can pull up my phone, write it in my notes, write it in the journal if I want to. Whatever system is best for whoever's listening to this, use your system. It's not about my system. It's not about what I do. It's about how you can take from me and you can mix and remix and you can put it together. And as coaches, that's what we do. Like if I see a drill that you're doing, I might not have the personnel, but I can switch a couple things around.
That's right.
I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna implement this.
Yeah.
So I do the same thing in my life, and I've been able to use this mastery thinking routine that didn't start there. I also want to let people know it didn't start out as all of these things. I have 5 major things now, but it started out as just waking up early and reading a book.
Gotcha.
So don't be afraid to start where you are. And like I said before, another way for you to keep that momentum going, because personal momentum is real. That's what can really get that's what really gets you going. And know how it is. There's been some teams that I've coached, they're not that talented, but once they get the momentum going, they beat teams that were way more talented than we were.
That's right.
So in life, it's the same thing. Once you get that personal momentum going, just imagine how you would feel if you're not doing any of the things that I just talked about.
That's right.
If you start doing those things and you've been doing those things for 30 days, imagine the type of outcomes that you're going to be getting at work with your family and your finances.
That's
You're going to be showing up prepared now.
That's right.
You're going to be proactive instead of reactive.
That's right.
So those are the things that I would give anybody that really wants to stay out of the just being motivated and get into the inspired mode and the focus mode.
The idea of momentum, which is big with that, is it doesn't happen without action. So you gotta take action and do something. Let me take that back. You have to be audacious enough to take action to do something. Because if you're not, then you might as well just not play the game and sit down and watch like everyone else, right? And so you got to be prepared to take action. Hey, how do you feel for some quick rapid fire questions? You okay with that?
Sure,
Yeah. Okay.
sure.
Um, I know you talked about your morning routine. Is it coffee or workout first for you?
Coffee first.
Okay.
Coffee first. Water's always first in the morning. I got my water right here. And then I go coffee. I have to drink 2 cups of water before I get the coffee. Then I go coffee. Then I work out.
Got you. Okay. Favorite book on leadership?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Right now, my book,
Okay.
Coaching the
Okay.
Winner Within.
Yeah.
But I'm also a huge fan of John Maxwell. So I read a lot of John Maxwell books. Um, and right now, I'm reading Five Dysfunctions of a Team. And I forget the writer, but I believe his name is Peter, and I forget his last name. But I'm reading that book, and it's been really good helping me as a coach.
Okay. Uh, Biggest challenge as a coach?
Biggest challenge as a coach, realizing I don't know everything.
Got you.
I don't know everything. And I actually I want to go back because we talked about how the transformation of while I'm here at the university that I'm at now, but I got introduced to that transformation as a JV basketball coach when I was coaching in New York. When I stepped away from college coaching, I was teaching in the high school, and they
Hmm.
came to me and it was like, "Hey, we know that you're a coach. Can you coach the JV boys team?" And I was like, okay, I'll coach the team. And went out there, and it was 45 kids at the
Wow.
tryout. And I
Wow.
was like, whoa, first of all, I'm a college coach, so I'm used to recruiting my own players. So
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
used
Yeah.
to having a tryout. So that already was overwhelming. And the first year, long story short, we lost every game.
Wow.
We won one game that season. And because I went in there, I tried to do my own thing. I tried to force. I tried to be the lion. Tried to just tell them what they was going to do and bring a college mindset to a high school JV team. It didn't work. It
Mm.
didn't work. So I learned my lesson in that opportunity. So at halftime of that year, halfway through the year, I looked at my wife and I said, if I'm gonna go back to this team next year, I got to start next year now. And she was like,
Mm.
What you mean? I was like, well, I'm gonna take the younger kids, I'm gonna start developing them, I'm gonna start getting them in the games more, and we're gonna develop them and get them ready for next year. So that's what we did, and I came back, I coached that team, and we didn't lose a game the next season.
I like that. I like start next year now. That's awesome. I like that. What habit that changed your life?
Reading,
Okay. All right. All right. Best advice you've ever received from a mentor?
God first. Keep
Mm.
God first in everything, especially in your relationships and your finances. I'm big on tithing, giving, being generous, not only with my money, but also with my time. If I see somebody in need, I'm going to try to help as much as I can.
Got you. I think I know the answer to this one, but I'm gonna ask it anyways. What is your go-to motivational quote?
Trust the grind.
That's
Trust
awesome.
the grind. On all my Instagram videos, all my social media videos, I always end with trust the grind. Let's get it.
What's the underrated quality in successful people?
Being humble.
Mm. The skill that um, you think every leader should master.
Self improvement.
I like that one actually. I like that one a lot. Okay. All right. Last one here. Last one here. What's your favorite post game ritual?
Post game rich. Oh, going for a walk with my daughter because
Nice.
she don't care nothing about the game. She want to do stuff. She's like it's always a blessing because whether it's a win or a loss, she's gonna be like,
Yeah.
Daddy, let's go over here, let's go over there. So our biggest thing is we go take a walk.
That's a great way of staying grounded too, and remembering what's important. And you know, you off the top, you talk about the importance of family, so it only naturally makes sense. You go right back to that when the game is just done being played. It's all said and done. It's awesome,
Yes,
Devrinn.
sir.
This has been a mad cool time, man. I'd appreciate a chatting like this. For listeners that want to learn more about you, connect with you, or get a copy of your book, where can we send them?
Well, if you want a copy of the book, you can go to devrinn.com. So my first name, DEVRINN.com. I have different packages available with the book. So if you are a reader, you want the physical copy, obviously you can get that. If you are more of a listener, I have the audio book as well. And I have a digital workbook that you can work through each concept and you can
Yep.
start to develop your own personal principles. I also have that, and it's called the Trio. You can get all three of those together if you want
Okay.
that.
Okay.
And you can find me on Instagram. That's where I live at, Devrinn underscore Paul, Paul. And as usual, I'm on every platform when it comes to social media, but the number one that I'm on is Instagram, and then I'm on Facebook. So people can find me there. And I want to just help people to elevate their personal life as well as their team.
Are you on those platforms during game day? What's that? Or is that no? Yes.
Sometimes,
What's
sometime. I love to give. I do motivational videos
okay?
on my
Okay.
platform. So, but my rule is I do not talk to anybody until I work out. So I don't do videos
Okay.
until
Okay.
I work out. So after
Okay.
normally you'll see me, I'm sweating and I'm like, oh yeah, just got done with my workout. But that's my way of like, you have to be working towards something before you can pour into somebody else. That's the
Sure.
concept that I live by. So most of the time it's after I work out. But
Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. Well, look, we're gonna make sure that the contact details are in the show notes below. This has been, like I said, an awesome time. One last thing I gotta ask you. I'm dying. I'm curious to find out when would I need to use the flamingo? When does the flamingo come out?
your flamingo's out right now. So
Okay.
so the flamingo is okay. So when you think about the animals, you think about a circle. You cut or you could think about a pizza pie. Cut the pizza
Okay.
pie in half.
Yeah.
At the top, you have faster pace. At the bottom, you have slower pace. It doesn't mean that you're slow, anything like that. It just means that the pace that you move at. And then you cut it in half again. So now you got the quarters, and you have the people side,
Yeah.
and then you have the task side.
Okay.
So the flamingo is cousins with the chameleon
Okay.
because they're both people centered.
Yeah.
But the flamingo is also cousin with the lion because they're faster pace. So the flamingo is more of you can walk in a room where you don't know anybody and leave with friends. The chameleon is also a people person, but they're going to walk in that room. They're not going to talk to anybody that they don't know, but the people that they do know, they're going to be very outgoing with.
Gotcha.
So the lion is fast, quick, decisive, but in the meantime, they may overlook all the details. And that's where
Gotcha.
the turtle comes in. The turtle is all about the details, which causes them to move at a slower pace because they're always looking to cross the T's, dot the I's.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I'm glad I brought my flamingo out, man. I appreciate that.
You got your
Listen.
flamingo out, and you got the flamingo and the turtle, which is a rare combination.
Yeah, okay. Very slow, decisive. Okay, yeah, yeah, okay. I see that. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
I
because you
appreciate it.
got
I've learned.
a lot of details behind the scenes, making sure everything's scheduled, and so you got the turtle that worked on the back end, and but on
Yes.
the front end, you show up as the flamingo.
Gotcha. I learned something about myself today. A turtle flamingo combination works for you. That's awesome. That's great. Devin, man, this like I said, I really appreciate the time with you. I just a big fan of the insights and the learnings and lessons. Look, I'm a basketball guy myself, so I recognize how powerful the game is and what it can teach people and what you walk away with that goes long beyond your playing years. It's funny. I tell a joke. I tell a story. When I was a bit of I used to consider myself a playground legend, right? Where I was at, right? And then when I got, like grade 9, I felt because my head was as huge as the sun, right? And I felt I was better than anyone and anything else. And so when they had tryouts for basketball, I vividly remember, after school, there's tryouts for the team. They had a 2-day tryout system, right? And in my mind, because my head was as big, I didn't have to go to the first day, because the first day, everyone gets caught. The guys everyone shows up on the first day. Well, I'm not competing with those guys. The second day is when I'm going to show up. So I skipped the first tryout, but couldn't understand why they wouldn't let me in for the second day to come the second day of tryout. Didn't make sense to me, because I'm like, yo, I'm that player. What are you doing? Fortunately, unfortunately, because it makes for an interesting story. But unfortunately, my response was, well, I quit. I'm not playing it no more. I'm not playing for this team. And I never played in high school because I wanted to make a stand. You didn't take me when you were supposed to. Well, I'm not going to help you. Not sure it helped me in any way, but yeah, that was
wow. What a great story though. I've never heard that before. That's the first time. Audaciously.
But I go even within that. I had to learn something. I learned something about myself. I recognize that, we sometimes we make decisions for ourselves that hurt us, and we don't even recognize that. The idea of ego, it's great to be confident, feel good about yourself, but your ego, you got to check that. And humility, obviously, I didn't have that because I consciously said, I don't need to show up for the first day. I'll show up at day 2. Huh? They just said everyone come to 2-day trials. What makes me think I don't have to be there for the first day? Where'd that come? You know what I'm saying? And so, anyhow.
Came from the playground. It came from the playground. You was out there killing on the playground.
Well, because on the playground, you don't come off until you lose. And I'm not coming off. I was always playing, right? So, maybe it made sense in the moment. But in a structured, organized environment, in the real world, I'll say, that stuff doesn't fly. And so that's what I had to learn. So there's my lesson.
I love that. Thanks for sharing. And thanks for having me on. I'm super appreciative to anytime I can get on and share my story. So thanks for having me on. And this is a phenomenal show.
Yeah, thank you. Pretty much appreciate, my friend. All the best, and we'll see you down the road.
See ya.
Back we are here on the podcast, and much thanks to Devrinn for being here. One of the biggest takeaways for coaches, leaders, and growth-minded individuals from this conversation, it's this: your systems determine your success. Motivation comes and goes, but the routines you build will carry you through every single challenge. What I love most about Devrinn's message is how practical it is. He doesn't just talk about mindset and theory. He talks about waking up early, reviewing your calendar, journaling, and preparing intentionally for the roles you need to play each day. That's leadership in action, not just leadership in concept. If this episode resonated with you, I strongly encourage you to connect with Devrinn directly, grab a copy of The Coaching the Winner Within. It absolutely is a great read, and start applying those leadership principles to your personal development, mindset, life, as well as your career. Now, before we go again, I want you just to think of your growth journey like a toolbox. Every challenge you face doesn't require the same tool. Some moments call for bold decisiveness of a lion, while others require the patience of a turtle or the adaptability of a chameleon. The audacious leader learns which tool to use in a situation instead of forcing the same approach every time. That's how you grow, that's how you lead, and that's how you come to be the winner from within. If this episode inspired you, I'd encourage you to like, follow, subscribe, or share, because every time you commit to your own audacious growth, you're not just changing your life, you're making it possible for others to do the same. I want to thank you so much for joining us on another edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. Thank you for being here, and remember to live life audaciously.
Driven by purpose, fueled by passion. My words got power, my thoughts have action. Motivation, stay gracious. That's greatness. Be audacious.